Hello, welcome back. Kind of links on from my last video. I wanted to talk about body image or inner confidence requested from someone who trains in the gym, eats well, and likely has a really good looking body in reality, but they still feel insecure in themselves. And I can fully relate to this because as a personal trainer and qualified yoga teacher, when I was younger, I used to hate my stomach. When I sat down, I used to comment on how fat my legs looked and was just full of insecurities, and the influence of my mother, who was constantly on diets, felt that I needed to change my body to finally feel worthy. And throughout my teens and early 20s, just constantly checking the scales to see how much I weighed, wanting to weigh less and thinking that that's where I was going to seek the internal confidence that I was looking for, when in reality, what I needed to do was look after my health, like eat well and train so that my body does look good. I'm not saying that you don't feel good when you look good. I'm just saying that it comes from a different intention when you put the two together, like internal confidence and external confidence. You're only seeking to change the external from a place of lack and from a place of insecurity, then that's where it doesn't work out. It can be a never-ending cycle, or wanting to stay a weight that's not even sustainable because you think that you have this idea in your head that you need to be at a certain weight or you need to lose a certain amount of fat, and that can be never-ending because the idea that you have in your head of where you want to be at is not sustainable long term, because it's literally you're under eating. Also, if you don't address your eating habits around food, that's also an issue and will get in the way of you not being motivated to eat food that's not high in sugar, high in fat, and highly palatable, because it's probably a reason behind why you're heavily relying on that. For example, emotionally eating, which is something that I get into with my clients, and what I spoke about in the last video in terms of intuitive eating. And don't get me wrong, I was there. This was just before my mental breakdown in 2019. Was with a boyfriend of 6 years, went on an all-inclusive holiday, like stopped exercising, stopped training, stopped doing what I highly value, looking after myself, and just ate and ate and ate because I was covering up for the fact that realistically I actually wanted to go traveling. I didn't have a clue what I was doing with my career and just felt really shit, and like got depressed because I thought I had to settle down, get a house, get like a stable job in something that I hated because I wanted to be my own boss. I hated following people's rules and just felt like I was a number basically. So that's why I got to a point where I was actually the heaviest that I'd ever been, and I was my method of coping was emotionally eating as well as drinking alcohol at the same time. So after that ramble, today I'm going to talk about why you need to seek inner confidence rather than keep thinking that you need to change your physical appearance to think you're finally going to reach that point of confidence, when actually you're just going to continue to chase that number on the scales. But there's a lot of insecure people that have really nice bodies, or really nice bodies in terms of maybe they have abs, they're really like lean. And what I mean by lean is that they don't have as much body fat and you can see all of the muscles. But sometimes that's actually not really healthy, and it's done in a really unhealthy way in terms of calorie restriction and maybe even like psychological restriction, in the sense that they actually ignore their hunger pains just so that they can look like that essentially. Whereas I do believe that there is a way of being super lean, but you're someone who just eats a really good diet, but not in the sense of restriction. You eat good diet because you want to nourish your body and you're eating the right nutrients in terms of a lot of fruit, a lot of veg, plenty of meat, and then the appropriate carbs. And I think the difference behind this is the intention of it. So as I've just touched on it, in the sense that if you're trying to change your physical appearance and the way that you look through from a place of lack, in the sense that you feel insecure about if you're overweight, or maybe you have insecurities, like for example, when I was younger, I used to hate my belly and the fact that it stuck out, and I used to compare myself to celebrities, and I had a mother that was constantly on a diet, so I obviously felt that I always had to be on a diet and I had to hit a certain weight, not even knowing that things like diet can influence how bloated you are and like water retention and things like that. So not even knowing that it's not really so much about, like I've said in my last YouTube, it's not so much about the quantity that you're eating, it's about the quality, because that can also influence a number of things, like especially for females, like hormones and bloating and things like that. So I do believe that it comes down to intention, and if you are trying to change change your physical appearance from that state of feeling insecure, then no amount of changing it on the outside is gonna change the way that you feel internally. Because, and I know that from experience because I was living proof of that. I used to start calorie counting, and then I used to stop, and then I used to gain the weight again, and then I'd have to go back on, and then eventually I did actually get to this point where I was like, surely this can't be it. Like, so I personally think it's crazy to think that there's people out there that you're even maybe looking at on Instagram that are really lean, but behind the scenes they restrict themselves, they eat specific foods because it's something that will help them look leaner, and the sole purpose of, you know, wanting to look that way. And don't get me wrong, I agree in the sense that yes, your external appearance does have a play in your confidence, but being skinny is not what you really want. You want to feel confident from inside. Like I always say, there is confident people out there that are overweight. I actually met this guy in Dubai and he was overweight, but he just did not give a fuck. He didn't give a fuck what he looks like. He actually said that. He's like, I don't give a fuck what I look like. Because he was talking about me and my sister, and he was just like, I actually don't give a fuck. And he didn't care about his appearance, and he was fine. He wasn't skinny, he didn't have abs. So for me, it was like my belly and my legs. This is leading on to insecurities, and maybe where you're comparing yourself to other people. And I often think like, yes, when you compare yourself to someone else, it's something that you want, but also in the same way, when it comes to physique, do want to highlight that fact that maybe they're actually starving themselves. So is that what you really want? Or what is it that you can do to improve your lifestyle that's going to get you to a place of maybe, so say maybe you do want to improve your physique, maybe you are overweight. Well, what are the things that you can do? You can start training in the gym, start going for walks, start eating more fruit and vegetables, prepping meals that you actually enjoy that are nutrient dense, rather than, you know, last minute getting a takeaway or relying on Greg's or something like that. So it's about addressing your insecurities. However, this is where yoga and meditation come back in. I'm going to reference them probably in every video. And the reason why yoga and meditation are linked to this, because if you're not aware of the thoughts that you say to yourself on a daily basis and you're in a narrative, then you're not going to be aware of what you say to yourself. So you need to create, yoga and meditation essentially create that space in between your thoughts and feelings, and the detachment from your thoughts and feelings. So they're not just constantly running. You're actually aware of what you're saying to yourself and what thoughts pop up on a daily basis. I actually used to look in the mirror and, like, you know, when you do those comparison photos of like when you first started dieting and then when you're dieting, or when you came back off holiday and you look in the mirror and you're like, fuck, I've put some weight on. And then you're like turning to the side, you're looking at how big your belly looks. I used to do that, but constantly, and even when I wasn't overweight. So I was like, I don't even know what age I was, but I was around 10 stone. I used to sit at around 10, or I used to want to sit at around 10 stone. And then eventually for me, it just got to the point where I wouldn't even do transformation photos. I'd just be like on and off calorie counting, be skinnier when I was calorie counting, and then just a normal weight when I wasn't. And then eventually I learned to intuitively eat and just stopped using the scales altogether, and which is something that I get my clients to do as well. So it's about releasing that shame, in the sense that these programs, for me in particular, was because my mother was constantly on a diet and people are just shamed. Like the female body in general, if it's not perfect, is shamed. But realistically, the current beauty standards of like a flat stomach, etc., are realistically not what a natural body, natural female body looks like. Certain parts of the natural female body have been shamed. So this is why we practice yoga and meditation, so that we can get to grips with the inner critic that comes up on a daily basis. Like, for example, I used to say to myself in the mirror, oh my god, my stomach looks so big. Why does it stick out like that? Why can't it be flat? How much dust do I need to eat to lose fat? How many calories do I need to burn? How long do I need to go on the treadmill for to lose that fat? Like, how draining is that? Like, could you be asked? It's about releasing shame, getting rid of the idea that you think your body needs to look a certain way. Like, if these are the things that you could be doing, like journaling down what are the things that you say about your body, and turning these beliefs around, and just coming to realize that actually it's normal for your body to look like that. Like, for example, throughout the month for me, I'm bloated at particular times, and then other times I have a flat stomach, or when I'm not training as much jiu-jitsu, I put on weight because I'm no longer restricting myself, and that's okay. I still love myself when I'm not training as much jiu-jitsu, or when I'm not weight training as much, with traveling. As much as I love myself when I'm training, I've got like my routine down to a T. I'm training a lot of jiu-jitsu. I'm training weight training twice per week and practicing yoga. I still love myself and I love my body as much in either category, although obviously being a girl who values training and looking after my health well, I obviously value when I feel a lot fitter, because that's just when I feel my best in my body. So it's never intentional that I'm not training as hard. It's just that life gets in the way, of course. And it's about having self-compassion around that. And yeah, I just think as long as you're training, you're eating a nutrient-dense diet, then you've got to come to terms with what your body looks like and what you think it should look like. I think that's a huge misconception in the fitness industry that's massively glorified, because everyone has a different physique. Someone might be taller than you, someone might be smaller than you, someone might do more things throughout the day, someone might have a job where they're on the feet and that's why they're leaner. And like, for example, I train jiu-jitsu mostly 6 days per week. When I'm actually in my routine, I'm fairly lean, and it would be very hard for me to eat over that amount of calories. So maybe someone might compare themselves to me when I'm in that state. Maybe people might think I'm a fraud when I'm not training as much jiu-jitsu. Maybe I do have a little bit more excess fat because I'm not your standard PT that's going to make you cut carbs and count calories, because honestly, I've been there, done that, and it's fucking miserable and it's not even worth it. Like, you're constantly thinking about food, you're constantly thinking about where your next meal's coming from, and it's just fucking shite. Or what, all to look good and have abs. Like, I'd rather win gold in a jiu-jitsu competition than starve myself from carbs. At least in jiu-jitsu, you actually get a belt for like all the hours that you're putting in on the mats, and then you become literally a ninja when you get to black belt. So, and it's just fun as well. Like, the process of it is fun. Like, whoever said that counting calories and restricting yourself of like and eating fucking rice cakes with jam on it, like, who said that that was fun? Like, what is the fun process about that? And these are the people that you're comparing yourself to, people who are literally eating not even like 1,200 calories for a week near shore day. It's actually crazy. So that's another thing as well. Just be mindful of what sort of pictures you're comparing yourself to, because I think a lot of the time as well, people don't realize that store fat in specific places as well. So you might be comparing yourself to someone who actually eats like a decent diet but just don't store fat in certain places. So yeah, that can be a factor as well. For example, I was working with a client more recently, and there was one key like image that she had in her head that she believed about herself, and this was from like what they used to say about their family, like, oh, we've got this specific feature, and it goes to show how that specific belief that had been passed down through her family, how that belief is still coming out in her belief about herself, even though that's not something that necessarily true in reality. To summarize it, I don't glorify and do transformation photos, because yes, you can change your physical appearance. When I first started personal training, I would put my clients on a calorie target and a step target, and then it's kind of just waiting for them to lose fat. That is literally what personal trainers do to get a transformation, and then it's up to the client to maintain that. Depending on how much, unless you're exercising a lot every single day, you're not going to be able to maintain that. Don't get me wrong, like, obviously you need to be active as a person, but I just think it's very much like health and fitness becomes a chore if you're literally checking how many steps you're doing every single day. Oh, I need to get this many steps, instead of just enjoying the fucking walk. Do you know what I mean? Or enjoying your food. It's like, oh, I have to enter my calories into an app instead of just enjoying the food and not having to think about the calories. Like, I honestly think it's fucking madness. This is why I focus on the quality of the food that you're having instead of the content. And then that is like, because you're not going to eat sugar all day, are you? If you're focusing on the quality, if you're eating more fruit and vegetables, because that's more quality, you're not going to need to put them in your MyFitnessPal, because they're literally barely any calories and they're full of nutrients. Like, you see where I'm going with this? So to summarize it, it's like, yes, focus on the external as much as that does bring you confidence. If you're doing it from a place of lack, like, no amount of on the external is going to change how you feel about yourself and the internal narrative that you're saying to yourself. Like, I got rid of me saying to myself and looking in the mirror, your stomach looks fat. Like, no, Lucy, like, that's just the way that my body looks when I'm carrying a little bit more weight, or when I'm bloated, when I'm due on my period. That's just part of it. Men are still interested. Like, what, I don't know what people think that having that specific dream physique that you've got in your head, what do you think it's really going to achieve? Like, how do you think it's going to make you feel better? And then obviously this is where yoga and meditation do come in the sense that meditating and doing yoga, you become more aware of the thoughts that you're telling yourself and your internal narrative. Therefore, if you are saying negative things about yourself, you can start to change that. And obviously this is where like affirmations come in the sense that like the more that you say the affirmations, of course, sometimes in the beginning you might not think that they're true. The more that you're going to program your mind, your subconscious mind, to say these positive things about yourself instead of the negative shit that you're saying to yourself. Because yes, maybe you think that confidence, or it might come across arrogant, or you think that people are full of themselves when they are confident, but at the end of the day, go far in this world and to back yourself and to do good things. Like, you actually need to be confident in this world, and no one else is going to do that for you. So you either feel insecure and don't back yourself and just continue with that negative cycle of shaming your body or shaming yourself as a person, or you actually back yourself and start to say positive things about yourself like you would a best friend. Yoga and meditation and body confidence merge, and I'm actually doing a girls yoga retreat where we're going to focus on specific energy centers and really reconnect back to the body, because I was experiencing anxiety for most of my life up until around the age 25 when I went on medication. I've actually went through this in my other YouTube video on how I transformed my anxiety, if you want to go and watch that. However, yeah, this is how it's interlinked, because I felt shit about my body, I felt shit about my life, I had no direction, I was just full of anxiety, my body was so tense and I was so disconnected. And through yoga, through meditation, through lots of therapy and lots of coaching, I have reconnected back to my body essentially and got rid of the anxiety, rid of the tension in my body, and rid of all of the self-doubt that I was having about myself and about my body. So if you found today's video helpful, then pop your email address below. 14 ways and 14 days that you can reconnect back to yourself. I'll put your comments below. So yeah, I hope you found this helpful, and maybe start journaling down the things that you feel insecure about and try and turn them around on its head, because it's really a mindset change. And yeah, you might think affirmations don't work, but the more consistent that you are with them, the more that you're going to start believing them. It's all about self-love, because no one else is going to fucking back you. That's one thing that I've learned. If you don't initially have that support network, not just the external that you need to be changing, you really need to address your own personal insecurities and how you feel about yourself, which is a whole another thing. Like, it's not just a quick fix, like it's something that's been ingrained into us, or an event that's happened to you in the past. Maybe you were ashamed about your body, maybe you were ashamed in other ways, and it's about undoing those beliefs about yourself and filling yourself full of confidence and self-love. That might seem alien, it might feel icky, but at the end of the day, that is what internal confidence is. Once you shift your internal confidence, your intention becomes different, and you're doing it from a place of self-love rather than doing it from a place of wanting to look good from the external. I love myself enough to eat nutrient dense food and train no matter what, no matter how tired I feel. I'm going to do the best I can because I want to feel good in my body, not because I want to look good. So the intention is completely different when you're coming from a place of insecurity and when you're coming from a place of self-love. And that is exactly what I teach my clients. Like, you do all of this because you're the one benefiting from it, not because you want to look a certain way. I'll leave it here because I could keep going, but I hope today has been like a brief introduction as to my opinion on why people just seek external validation when in reality what they need to be doing is building internal confidence. That's where it all begins, when you love yourself, as vain as that sounds. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Put your email address below if you want to go into more depth into reconnecting with yourself and getting rid of that anxiety, whether that's about yourself or about life in general. And I'll see you on the next one.